We're live from the BEF and the BCA Trade Show, and I got a couple of special guests. My brother from another mother, and Michael Pinozo of Billiards Digest. Mike, how are you?
Good. Good to be here. I do want to say this is my 38th consecutive BCA Expo. I've been to every one since they started in 1984, as has Jerry.
Is that right? That's
Yeah,
pretty
right?
fantastic.
Oh yeah, I think I've been to all but one or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So,
phenomenal. So you got a lot of history in the game, and we didn't even introduce you, Jerry Briesath, and we got a pretty special announcement, don't we, Mike?
yeah, we do. This is breaking news. Just announced this afternoon that the balloting had completed for the 2022 Billiard Congress of America Hall of Fame. And the inductees for this year on the greatest player category is Dennis Orcolo. And in the meritorious service category is our friend Jerry Briesath, who I've known since the early 80s, one of the great instructors, the father of the American Billiard Instructors Program, and has coached many great players over the years. So, Jerry, congratulations. It's a great honor, right?
Yep. Thanks, Mikey. Oh, super duper honored, unexpected, and just something you love to do, and all of a sudden you get rewarded for it.
Yeah, well, you've always been known around the industry for your you've been to every junior event, every BCA nationals, every VNEA nationals, holding clinics, talking to players, coaching them, whatever. So you've always been recognized, but it's nice to get that ultimate validation, isn't it?
Oh, unbelievable! Yeah, it's just now I know how they felt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
I've watched I think 40 in a row or something.
yeah.
And the job you do there is like
Oh, don't
nobody
worry
could
about
do.
me.
Yeah,
You're the man of the hour, and the first instructor to be inducted into the BCA Hall of Fame. So
yeah.
it's kind of bringing to light the importance that instruction has become in part of the American pool scene. So tell us. You started as a player in the '60s,
Yeah, I was.
and a good player. Tell us how you gravitated toward becoming a teacher and a coach and instructor for players, and how you developed your system for
Yeah.
teaching over the years.
Yeah, I started playing in Milwaukee when I was 19, and I was a golfer in high school. And I played in this little tiny billiard room on the Marquette campus called the Abbott Crest Hotel. It had 5 9-foot tables and one 10-foot table. And my buddy took me in there, and I just fell in love with it. And that's where I learned how to play. This Willis Covington was a 100-ball runner,
Okay.
nice guy, and so I got to know him, and that's how I got started. And then 3 years later, I was one of the best players in the state. I think I won my first state championship in less than 4 years. And and I worked for an electric company at the time in Milwaukee. And he had a stroke. And I worked for him part time, a full time electric company. And he had a stroke. And I went to visit them at the hospital. And he said, "Oh, Jerry, I'm glad you came in. You got to go teach my class at the YMCA." I laughed and I said, "I don't know what I'm doing. Am I supposed to tell people what they're doing?" No. He said, "Just show them how to hold a cue and stand, and you'll be fine." I was scared to death. Went into my first teaching job at the YMCA. And
Nice.
they had a deal where they give $7.50 for three 2-hour lessons. I got half the money. The Y got half the money. Well, I started liking that, and well, the point is, I built the classes up a year later. I had 25 people in the class. And the YMCA called me in and said, "I'm sorry, but you make more than any of our employees. We're gonna give you $7.50 an hour and keep the rest." So the first company I ever got ripped off.
That's funny.
That's a great story.
That was a funny
Uh,
story.
There weren't really a lot of traditional instructors back in those days.
None.
Why do you think that was, and how did it start? How did you start to develop some momentum as far as getting instruction to be a formal part of the game?
Yeah, well, I did that YMCA thing, and then some of the billiard rooms in Milwaukee started hiring me to come in and free lessons on Tuesday night or Thursday night. And I always had my full time job, and but when I started, there was no teachers anywhere. I mean, they just tell you, "Oh, you put English on this ball," or they could tell you if you're standing on your head, but there was no mechanics at all. And So that was kind of funny then. And so I didn't know what a stroke was. I asked Willie Mosconi. I had him at my billiard room several times. What is a good stroke? He said, you'll know it when you feel it. Well, what does that tell a 14-year-old?
Yeah. That's
How do you describe that to somebody, right?
Yeah.
for playing 20 years. I still don't feel it.
Yeah. Well, anybody that plays a lot, they can have the worst stroke in the world, and it feels good for what they know. So,
Yeah. Right.
So then I started coming up with what is a stroke and what is timing, and then Mark Wilson got involved, and Randy Gottlinger got involved when the BCA finally started their program.
Right.
And then it just grew pretty good.
The instructor program now has 150 or more instructors in the program.
Yeah, we had all the guys here, just great knowledge of the game. It was just fun to listen to them do their thing out there. We have some great talent now, smart guys there teaching.
And over the years, you've done instructional videos, you've done instructional pamphlet for the BCA, how to play pool right, that was very popular over the years, and have really formulated a good program for teaching. What do you see for the future of like the PBIA, the billiard instructors program, and we're here with all these junior players, which is fantastic. This is where you want to get the instruction in there. How important is this all to the future of the game?
Mark Wilson was in the college and showed how great it is, what a benefit it is to have college players getting in the pool.
Right.
And unfortunately, things didn't go his way, and it wasn't his fault at all.
Right.
But he had the great idea or the great vision of what pool should be all about. And if we get youngsters like this getting lessons and so forth, and these systems are going to grow, and we get some coaches in the colleges and have the colleges competing, then we're going to get all the good young players into good atmospheres of pool.
Yeah, to try to develop organized programs and collegiate billiards would be a huge benefit. And now you've gotten a chance to watch a lot of these young players play here in the last couple of days. A little different than when you were first watching junior players, right?
Totally, yeah. A lot of them have great instructors helping them now, and the level has gone up like crazy.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
Even in the professional sector of our pool, with the smaller pockets on tables, pros have to shoot straighter.
Yeah,
it's made a big difference.
You mentioned Mark a few times, and I had the privilege of taking a class with him and John Schmidt just last week out in Round Rock, and he credited you and talked about you quite a bit. What has he meant to your career and vice versa, Jerry?
Excuse me?
What has he meant to you as
well, he just strolled into my billiard room one day out of the blue, and he played one of my employees. He wanted to play my employee. My employee said, "Oh, I can't play very good." And Mark thought he was good, played my employee. My employee killed him. And Mark says, "I thought I could play good." And the guy, And so then Mark tells this story 10 times better than I can. But then I came in a few hours later, gave him his first lesson, and then he came back to Madison a few weeks, saved up his money, came back for another lesson. I think he took 3 or 4 lessons. Then he moved to Madison. He hung drywall for a while, worked for Breaking Cube for a while, worked for me, and he got to be better and better and better. Very dedicated person to the game.
Of course. Yeah. Very dedicated to the game. Tell us about some of the other, players that you've spent time helping them correct their game or study it or whatever.
One of the best was the thing with Jeanette Lee, super duper lady, and she called me in 2000. And she said, "Jerry, I'm just in a slump. I haven't won anything for 3 years." And she said, "I want to come up and spend next week." And I said, "Well, when's your next tournament?" And she says, 11 days after I leave you, I go to Japan. I'm going to play in the world tournament. I said, "Don't come. Wait till after the tournament." She said, "I'm playing so bad it don't matter." And she came up and spent the week, and I fixed her. I said, "Well, you picked up some fancy stuff, and we're just going to make you more simple again." "Well, I like to be a little flamboyant sometimes." I said, "Well, we got
so shoot like a Filipino."
I said, "We got 2 subjects to talk about: flamboyant or winning." She said, "I want to win." So So I gave her the lessons, and she went to Japan and won the tournament.
Yeah.
Really?
Turned her game right around. That was fun.
Yeah.
I helped Corey Duell with his he had a I call it.
You're the one who taught him to cut break?
Pardon?
Are you the one who taught him to cut break?
No, no. But he had a hitch in his stroke, and I fixed that. He waited 3 years. I said, I can fix that hitch you got. Finally, we were in Virginia. He said, when's my lesson? I said, tonight. So I fixed the hitch he had, which just allows him to play better longer. You know?
Yeah.
And, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Witch was a great player. I give him his mechanics from scratch. He was helped him a lot. Jeff Carter, one of the most beautiful strokes anybody ever had. And he came to my place and lived there a long time. Great player. And so probably more, but
yeah, sure. So for young kids coming up, what do you encourage? How do you encourage them in terms of getting proper instruction, the importance of it, the value of it?
It's everything. It just speeds up the learning process 100 times. And in many cases, you have once in a while a person that'll pick up young person that'll pick up a pool cue and just naturally have a good stroke and everything, but that's few and far between. But even when they do, you can still speed that process up many, many times.
Yeah.
That's what lessons are for. Just you can get good by yourself, but it's nothing like having somebody that knows what they're doing help you. You just improve so much faster than you can by yourself.
100%.
When did you get the news you were going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame, Jerry?
Monday.
I had the privilege of calling him Monday and telling him, and it was as much fun and exciting for me as it was for Jerry, I think, because Jerry's 85 now. He doesn't look it. He still hits a ball pretty straight and can still teach the game. But I've known Jerry for so long, and so it was so exciting for me to be able to call him up and say, you're getting the call, Jerry.
Yeah.
Getting the call for the
What
Hall.
does that mean to you?
Just means that it's hard to explain. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling, and you don't know if you deserved it because I had fun doing all this stuff.
Right.
I enjoy what I do, and when you're good at it, you just see that improvement. You like to do it when it works.
Yeah.
So it's just a super duper feeling that whoa,
Yeah.
me, almost like me.
You've left your footprint on this industry, though, Jerry, for a number of decades, and you see it from pro players to amateurs to now guys like Mark who are still instilling things that he learned from you all those years ago. And it's awesome to go and hear that you're finally getting. You've always gotten the respect, but more recognition from the BCA into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's we got so many more tools now in the teaching industry to use on people.
It's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah. That's the best part of the whole thing. We can do a lot more. We can explain things a lot better now.
Yeah, with videotaping and 3D
Yeah.
and everything like that. So yeah,
The
great stuff.
first tournament I ever played in was in that little billiard room, and I'm going to bring this up in my speech too.
Don't give away all your secrets now.
And this tournament that Will Covington had in his room, he had, after I'd been playing about 3 months or 6 months, he had a little tournament, all the guys in there, 21 to 30, and he got a double round robin tournament. It's going to take 2.5 months to finish. You got to play 2 games a week. I was in Class C, the beginners, the 3-ball runners, and then the big players were good. So I started playing straight pool, 50 points. And I remember thinking, if I get 8 balls every rack, he can't win. That's how primitive it was. And so about a month later, I beat a guy 50 to 25. He kicked me out of the tournament. He said, nobody improves that fast. He said,
You thought you were a ringer? You thought you were sandbagging?
Yeah.
That's
So I
funny.
went home and felt horrible and went back the next day, and he said, if you want to play, you got to play in Class B, where I didn't have a chance, and I won Class B.
There
That's
you
how
go.
fast I improved.
That's
So
fantastic.
you saw a lot of great players over your years because you were involved in the industry, at a very young age. You had a couple pool rooms in Madison, Wisconsin, traveled around the country.
That Cunic was one of the great rooms.
Yeah,
in the
Cunic
US.
was a great pool room. That's where I ran my first and only rack of 8-ball. I took a lesson from Jerry
Is that
in
right?
1982, and by the second day, I'd run a rack of 8 ball and I'd run out in 8 ball, and I had never done it. I haven't done it since. So I screwed my cue at that point and said it was just a mic drop moment, and I just waltzed out of
You
there.
peaked, Mike.
I peaked early,
Yeah.
but tell us about some of your favorite players over the years that you enjoyed watching,
Boy.
as much for their style as for their titles.
Well, Fatty was the funniest, of course.
Fatty was the funniest
he
for
was-
sure.
And I recorded his speech. I told you that.
From
Yeah.
from 1984 from his Hall of Fame banquet.
Yeah. And but watching Siegel and Varner, who's here by the way, Nick,
Yeah.
just dominate the sport for several years. Boy, it was fun to watch those guys, and
Yeah.
that makes you really think about Shane Van Boening 10 or 12 years near at the top.
Yeah.
That's unheard
Impressive.
of
Yeah.
in any sport like this, individual sport. But geez. Well, let's see, that Euphema guy wasn't
Mike
a real
Euphemia?
famous player in
Yeah.
New York, but he had many hundred. I beat him in a world tournament
Okay.
here in Las Vegas, but he was past his prime, but fun to watch. He picked the balls apart like few.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching him play. Mosconi, I enjoyed watching. Played him several times in my early days. Never beat him. But, the Meat Man,
Joe
Balsas,
Balsas. Yeah.
he was. Had my high run against him in competition.
Yeah.
And so he was fun to watch.
About Mizrak, Jimmy
Mizrak
Rempe,
was-
stroke
yeah,
wise.
well,
Were they?
Rempe was so steady, and Mizrak just scared of nothing.
Yeah.
And just those guys are just good, but I don't know. Today's players might have edge.
Yeah. You think so?
Really?
I mean, you know the
Yeah,
difference in eras
yeah.
between then and now. Difference in
Yeah.
balls, cloth, things like
Yeah.
that. But what do you what makes you think that today's players are?
Pockets are smaller, and it's just the shot making of like who's the wild guy?
Wild?
Oh boy,
Wild guy
I'm
doesn't.
getting old. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not too far behind you, obviously.
But the best 9-ball players on earth are probably
Oh, Josh Filler or someone.
no, probably Ephraim and
Yeah.
our player
Earl Strickland.
Earl Strickland. Yeah.
Sorry. We should have known when we said
Yeah.
Wild.
But those shot making abilities.
Yeah, his
those
shot
guys
making
just
was-
like nobody. Shaw, same, just way beyond what's normal for shot making.
Was he the best shot maker you ever saw, Earl, in his prime?
Earl, and Earl was you. Ephraim.
Yeah.
Ephraim also great shot maker, but Earl
Yeah, Earl is.
just unbelievable shot maker.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I mean, when you watch a guy play, but I always admired Earl, no matter how much trouble he got into. Well, I knew him way long time ago a little bit, so
Yeah.
I really respect what he did for the game.
Yeah.
And I got a very warm spot in my heart for Earl.
Good.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. We're glad to have you on, and the announcement is already out, Mike.
The announcement was it came out about an hour ago.
So they're gonna have, what is it, the induction? When is it? This year, the
Yeah,
international?
Jerry and Dennis. Hopefully, Dennis. We'll have to see what happens with Dennis being let back into the U.S. See if we can get that squared away over the next month. But yeah, the Hall of Fame banquet, the formal induction of Jerry and Dennis will be during the International Open in Norfolk, Virginia, and November 4th is a Friday night, and that's the night of the induction. So we'll have a big crowd there, and anybody who's watching or listening to this who likes to see, a lot of the previous Hall of Famers all come back in for the banquet, and it's one of the great nights in the industry, is having all them together and just being able to talk about old times and talk about their great careers and things like that. It's a really special night. So and we'll be happy to have you as part of that this year, Jerry.
Thanks. Look forward to it completely.
Congratulations, Jerry, and thanks
Thank
a lot
you
for
so
coming
much.
on. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
it,
for
man.
letting me on.
A true legend of the game, and you're you'll be lived on forever, man. In the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame.
Yeah.
So,
Contributions.
That lasts a long time.
That lasts a long time. Yeah.
all right, guys, we appreciate it. We'll come back